So both MSM and glucosamine are both very popular supplements when it comes to getting some type of arthritis relief. And usually things like this become popular because somebody used it and like, oh man, that was awesome, you got to do this. And so somebody created some benefit from using this, and that's usually why something like that will become popular. It was doing something. But when you look at the studies all about these supplements, and I'll put links in the description below for some of them, but when you look through those studies that are actually showing, okay, let's break this down and see what they do, the gist that you get from those studies is, I don't know, maybe it's okay, why don't you try it? And if it does anything for you, then it probably works. But if it doesn't help you, then it doesn't work. So thank you for that. I don't feel like that's super helpful, but in this video, I want to help you understand why. Why might this help some people? Who might it not help? And who could it make even worse? And also, what the biggest mistake is that most people are doing with these. Let's jump in.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
So just remember, I'm not a doctor and I'm not giving you any medical advice. If your doctor told you to take any of these things that I'm going to talk about in this video, then you should listen to your doctor. Don't listen to me. You can just turn this off and watch videos of cats or something like that. But I just want to share why some people see improvements with these things and help you understand that function a little bit better from our point of view. And so when we're looking at arthritis type pain, a lot of times people want to talk about the structure in here and how it can either, kind of get broken down a little bit and just kind of deteriorate to where that cushion and that protective barrier is no longer there, and all that cartilage just kind of wears away, and then you get that bone on bone, and that really kind of hurts a lot. People also talk about like calcium deposit issues and calcifications and inflammation. So there's a variety of ways that a person can experience these arthritis type symptoms. So since we know that the body rebuilds itself, that's kind of its jam, is that it'll break down things and then rebuild those things, we kind of have to wonder, well, why isn't this being rebuilt? Why is it just deteriorating? A lot of times they just want to view it as, it's old age, sorry about your luck kind of situation. But I kind of feel like there's got to be a reason that this is being accelerated with some people, and other people's, their knees and all their joints are just fine until they're super duper old. So what's the deal with that? So one of the layers of confusion is that we see that there's different things that can create the same symptom. It's just this symptom of joint pain, but there's a variety of things that can make that happen. And then when you want to confuse that a little bit further, we have to understand that there's a variety of issues that might be able to create each of these causes. So when we're looking at this deteriorating, where this cartilage is just really kind of breaking down and not being rebuilt, it could be a supply and demand issue, where maybe the body just doesn't have the resources that it needs to rebuild that structure. Like if you were going to build a house, you would need wood or bricks or nails or some type of building materials to build that house. Otherwise, your housewarming party would just be a bunch of people in your yard eating egg salad. So it's the same in the body. There needs to be materials to rebuild with. So I have another video on the gut and arthritis connection that I'll put a link in the description below, and I'll point you to it at the end of this video, that kind of digs into a little bit more about why wouldn't a person have the right resources to rebuild that cartilage and connective tissue and all that good stuff. But if a person doesn't have the nutrients, then it appears that a lot of people believe that these particular supplements have the ability to give the body some of those nutrients that are necessary to rebuild those structures properly. So that might be why some people are experiencing improvements when they use these supplements. But the human body is not always about supply and demand. Sometimes it's about facilitation. Does the body have the ability to do something? And it appears that these supplements might have the ability to allow certain functions to happen in the body. So let's understand this a little bit better. And it was Dr. Emanuel Rivisi who helped us understand that the body has a natural circadian rhythm at the cellular level. So during the day, the body should be in what's called a catabolic state, where the body is very good at creating energy and also breaking itself down so that it can be rebuilt and renewed. And then at night, the body should move into this anabolic state where it's very good at resting and sleeping and rebuilding and repairing. So we can see both of these states are appropriate. We want both of those things to happen so the body can continue to function the way that it's supposed to function. The problem is, it's really common for someone to get stuck in one of these states and not have the ability to move back and forth from day to night like they're supposed to. And if they get stuck in one of these states most of the time, or maybe their body is just pushed way too far into one of those states, it can create a wide variety of health issues. So the perfect example with arthritis is that this catabolic state is the breakdown state. This is where the body wants to break itself down so it can be rebuilt and renewed. But if somebody's stuck in this state all the time and they're not moving back into this state at night where the body can really rebuild itself, it's almost like they can just be wasting away, where the body's just breaking itself down and never rebuilding. And if somebody is really stuck in this anabolic state, most of the time we seem to see a lot more calcification issues. And we're not saying that this anabolic state causes calcification, but a lot of times in this state we'll see things like a person with a higher urine pH. And a lot of times that higher urine pH can indicate that a person is peeing out a lot of calcium, because that calcium can be a little bit more alkaline, and when you see that high urine pH, it's just calcium leaving the system because there's too much floating around. This can happen a lot maybe because somebody's eating too many carbohydrates or sugars, and a lot of times some people's genetic disposition will just push them too far in one of these states and create these types of problems. But the calcification problems seem to be more common with people that we see that are leaning way too far on that anabolic side. Now, another thing to think about is that maybe the person can move into this rebuild state, but they don't have the supply to rebuild. That supply and demand is the problem, or maybe they're not getting the nutrients to do it correctly, even though they're in the right state. So we can see multiple problems could happen in either state when you really look at it. But one thing that we want to understand is that glucosamine appears to be pro-anabolic. So it seems to push a person more into this anabolic state, where MSM seems to be more pro-catabolic. So it seems to push most people into a more catabolic state. So what we do is when we have people that seem to be dealing with a severe catabolic imbalance and they're having joint pain type issues, we might have them use some glucosamine to help them push their body into this state where it can rebuild and repair. And a lot of them will see great improvements. Over here, if somebody's leaning way too anabolic, we might have them use some MSM to push them more into this catabolic state so the body can break those tissues down correctly and they can be rebuilt correctly when they move back into the anabolic state at night. And that seems to help improve some of these calcification issues just by having the person not reside so deeply into that anabolic state. So you can see that if this was the problem for somebody, they're breaking down all of their connective tissue, they're not rebuilding it because the body's not moving into that anabolic state at night, and they were to say, hey, I heard MSM was great for arthritis pain, I'm going to take that. They could make their situation worse. They could magnify this problem by using something that pushed them more into that catabolic state. Same over here. If someone's too anabolic, but they're like, oh, I'm going to use this glucosamine, they could magnify that imbalance and create even more trouble for themselves. So you can see it makes sense that some people are like, oh man, that worked great, and others were like, yeah, that didn't really do anything for me. It depends on the person's bio-individuality and what their body chemistry is doing. So you can see there's a lot of layers to this whole situation that can create this joint pain. There can be the supply and demand issues, or they can be this facilitation of allowing the body to get into that rebuild state. But one of the biggest issues is the mistakes that people make with formulas. And this is usually an issue that the manufacturers are doing. But a lot of people will say, oh, well, glucosamine helps some people with joint issues, and MSM helps some people with arthritis or joint type issues. So we'll just put them all in the same formula. If they're going to help some people, and this is going to help some people, we'll just put everything in there that helps, and we'll have the person take this. So the person starts taking this formula that's pushing them in both directions and neither direction. And it doesn't do anything. It's almost like telling them to get in their car and slam their foot on the gas and the brake at the same time. It's really not going to be super beneficial for most people. Now, some people might see some results because they're just, maybe it's a supply issue, and now both of these nutrients are giving the body some resources that it can use to rebuild with. Maybe they're not imbalanced in either of these areas, And when you take both of these together, it's just helping the body get some resources that it needs. But if somebody has an imbalance and that's the problem that's creating the issue for them, then they really need to take the right thing that is correct for them and their body chemistry. Using everything at once is just going to create pretty much nothing for them. So if you want to figure out which one of these might be more appropriate for you and your body chemistry, we'll put a link in the description below for our video on how to know if your circadian rhythm is off. And that video can walk you through some simple tests that you can do at home to get an idea of, oh, am I leaning too far on one of these sides? And maybe taking some steps to improve that imbalance could improve the issue for me. But for right now, if you haven't seen it already, jump over and learn a little bit more about that supply and demand issue and why some people's bodies might not have the resources to rebuild correctly. And you can check out the video on the gut and arthritis connection to see if that might be more important information for you. I can't wait to hear about your results.